I'm Miss Vivian and I'm an English tutor at ACE Chorus. Today, we're going to look at how to teach P6 Standard English for the Mendaki Holiday Program. Okay, so let's take a look at the slides. We are focusing on three aspects in English. The first one would be closed passage. The second one would be continuous writing. And the third one would be open-ended comprehension. Okay, all right. So when we are looking at comprehension close, it's a very, very important skill to be able to read the passage, to understand, and be able to look out for the clues in order to get the suitable answer. Okay, so for comprehension close, we are going to look at two steps, okay, two very important steps. The first step would be to look for the answer in the sentence itself. Okay, and the second step would be to look for the answer before or after the blanks. Okay, all right. So for comprehension close, we're going to look at the first extract here. A guitarist can play many different types of what, like blues and jazz, using a guitar. So over here, you need to tell the students to, of course, apply step one, which is to look for clues in the sentence itself. Right, so we know that this extract has something to do with music. So you need to tell them the hints would be blues and jazz, because blues and jazz is a genre of music. So a guitarist can play many different types of music, like blues and jazz, using a guitar. And you also must emphasize to the students that the word like always introduces examples. Okay. All right, moving on the next extract. I'm driving from Singapore to Thailand and will be sharing my what here in a blog. So we know that the writer is traveling from Singapore to Thailand, but we are not talking about that action. We are talking about him sharing his experience, okay, in a platform, which is a blogging platform in this case. So you need to tell the students that the answer would be journey, one country to another. So I'm driving from Singapore to Thailand and will be sharing my journey here in a blog. Okay, following that, simply tap and what for your bus and train fares using the EasyLink card. So when we are identifying hints, okay, we are looking at EasyLink card and fares. Usually, what action do you do with an EasyLink card? Yes, we tap, but the purpose of tapping is to pay for your bus and train fares. So simply tap and pay for your bus and train fares using the EasyLink card. Okay, that will be pay. Now the next one, question 3, the winners were happy and the what and the who were disappointed. Okay, so if the winners were happy, we're looking at the direct opposite. So who will be disappointed or who will be unhappy? The losers, right? So the winners were happy and the losers were disappointed. Okay, question 4. Runners generally prefer plastic water bottles, what? Paper cups, as they are more convenient to drink from when running. So you coaches, you must direct the students to understand prefer. So prefer means it's not like you don't like one thing and you like the other. No, prefer is just that both of these things you like, but you prefer one thing more than the other. So your hints would be, of course, comparing how much you like one thing more than the other. So we use the infinitive, which is to. Runners generally prefer plastic bottles to paper cups as they are more convenient to drink from when running. Okay, so the answer would be 2. All right, so moving on, the next extract. The Singapore Zoological Gardens is home to what? Like tiger, monkey, and elephants. Now, as I have mentioned in the very first extract itself, like introduces examples. Okay, now, so over here, the hint is you have to group them together. So the Singapore Zoological Gardens is home to animals, right? Animals like tigers, monkeys, and lions, and elephants, sorry. Okay, so animals. Okay, moving on. Who hasn't heard of sausages? Consumed by many people throughout the world, sausages have become a very what food item. Now, this sentence itself, who hasn't heard of sausages, tells us the popularity of this food item. So naturally, your answer would be popular or common. Both are acceptable in this sense. Okay. Now, question 7. Now, question 7 is when we are going to apply step 2. Step 2 is applied when you cannot find the clues in the same sentence itself, where we have to look before and after the blank. All right, so look at this extract over here. Thousands of years ago, people used the what as a heat and energy source. Ancient Greeks built their homes to get the most sunlight during the cold weathers, and in the 1830s, an explorer, John Herschel, used the sun's energy to cook food during an adventure in Africa. So this extract talks about heat being an energy source, right? So where do we get the heat from? So you need to show the students that the hints come from sunlight and sun's energy. So we get it from the sun itself. So the answer would be sun. So thousands of years ago, people used the sun as a heat and energy source. Ancient Greeks built their homes to get the most sunlight during the cold weathers, and in the 1830s, an explorer, John Herschel, used the sun's energy to cook food during an adventure in Africa. All right. Okay, the next extract also, we are going to apply step 2. The quickest and simplest clean habit to adopt would be good hand hygiene. We use our hands constantly, touching many what surfaces, shaking hands with people, eating our meals, typing on our laptops, or even playing in school. So this extract, right, you must help the students understand that we use our hands to constantly touch many places, right? Like for example, our table when we are writing, our chair when we are adjusting our seat, the whiteboard when the teachers asks us to clean the whiteboard and all that. So you need to tell them. So these are many different surfaces. So the answer would be different. So the quickest and simplest clean habit to adopt would be good hand hygiene. We use our hands constantly, touching many different surfaces, shaking hands with people, eating our meals, typing on our laptops, or even playing in school. Okay. All right. So moving on, let's move on to the next extract. Many rare birds can be found in the Singapore Jurong Bird Park. For example, the national bird of the Philippines, the Philippine eagle, is now highly what? Only 400 pairs remain in the wild. Now, for this extract, you need to ask the students this question. What does this extract mean by rare birds? Okay, so rare birds are birds that cannot be seen or found easily. Okay, and the next one, the next keyword you need to direct the students to is only 400 pairs remain in the world. That means if anything happens to these 400 pairs of birds, there's no more Philippine eagle. So what word can we use to describe that these birds are in a danger zone, like they are in the brink of extinction? So we use the word endangered. Okay, and the hints we are using here is of course forward and backward referencing, which is why we try to connect rare birds with only 400 pairs remaining. Okay, now the next extract, her competitiveness is a trait she believes she what from her mom, Uma, a former runner, and her late father, Eric, who did judo and a number of other sports. So over here, we are also going to use forward and backward referencing. Now, you must explain to the students that a trait, okay, a trait that is passed down from parents, from their mom, their dad, or their brothers or sisters, all these things, the most appropriate word to use would be inherited. So her competitiveness is a trait she believes she inherited from her mother, Uma, a former runner, and her late father, Eric, who did judo and a number of other sports. Okay, the next question. People were scared to go to Samau Island. The island was said to be haunted, scary, and people always say if you go there, you won't come back alive. So it's like a very mysterious island. But we love what we find it challenging, he told CNA. Now, over here, we are also going to do forward and backward referencing. But when the students were to come up with answers like difficult or scary and all that, now these are what we think is going to happen, right? But actually going to such a place with that is infamous. Okay, we are going to an island which is infamous, which doesn't have a good reputation. So in this case, we tell the kids that, but we love challenges. Okay, we find it challenging because by going to this island, despite its bad reputation, there are going to be a lot of challenges. Okay, like for example, getting there, navigating your way in there. All right, so the answer would be challenges. Now, the next part, we are looking at continuous writing. Now, continuous writing, it is very important for the students to be able to enhance their writing using phrasal verbs. Okay, so when we look at this sentence here, Tom was feeling very tired after his soccer practice. It's a very simple sentence, but how do we enhance it? We enhance it by using the word worn out instead of very tired. So we say Tom was feeling worn out after his soccer practice. Okay, and the next sentence would be Mary was told to clean up her room as they were having guests over for a few days. So how do we enhance this? We enhance it by saying Mary was told to put her things away as they were expecting guests who would be staying over for a few days. Okay, now the next part here. Don't smoke in the forest. Fires what easily at this time of the year. So we are telling the kids that fires are actually breaking out. So fires break out easily at this time of year. Okay, the next one. I what seeing my friends again. So I look forward. That means you are expecting when to see your friends again. So I look forward to seeing my friends again. Now, the next sentence. I'm afraid we have what of apple juice? Will an orange juice do? So you are giving an alternative. So why are you offering an alternative? Because you have run out of apple juice. That's why. Okay. The next one. A friend of mine has called off her wedding. Okay. So called off means to cancel, and we don't use the called off as in OF. We use OFF because it is done. Okay. She's canceling her wedding. The next one, his mother can't what his terrible behavior anymore. So instead of saying the mother can't tolerate or the mother has had enough, we say his mother can't put up with his terrible behavior anymore. Okay. Now, following that, the next question, as an excuse for being late, she what a whole story. So instead of saying she told a whole story, she narrated a whole story, we're going to use the word made up. So as an excuse for being late, she made up a whole story. Now, the boy got what by his enthusiasm. So we are talking about enthusiasm. So we say the boy got carried away by his enthusiasm. Now, if the students were to ask why carried away, so we use the phrase carried away because the boy is no longer aware of his surroundings. He's just going along with his enthusiastic feeling. All right. Okay, the next one. I just cannot my mobile. I always keep it with me. So instead of saying I cannot part with my mobile, or I cannot put down my mobile. We use the word I just cannot put away my mobile. I always keep it with me. Okay, now we have come to the last part of the slides, which is open-ended comprehension. Now, open-ended comprehension has always posed as a challenge for students, because you need to bring in your different skills like inference, thinking and analyzing, like understanding and all that. Okay, so over here we are going to look at some extracts and how to help the student better find the answer. Now, example 1, I was afraid. How could I disappoint my parents by telling them that I had failed my examinations? I knew deep within my heart that they will find out soon. So the question here is, which word suggests that the author's parents expected him to pass his examinations? So you need to direct the students to certain clues. Like the author felt he had let his parents down, right? So we had to find the word that describes how the parents would feel, which is disappoint, right? Okay, and the next question here, the next extract, light from the nearest star to Earth takes just over 4 years to reach us. So the further we look into space, the further we are looking into the past. The distance that light travels in a year is called a light year. So the furthest that scientists have seen are 12 billion years away. So what is the meaning of a light year? So you have two options here. Distance traveled by light in a year, the furthest a scientist has ever seen. So your clue will be, the question references to the distance with light year, right? So our answer would be number 1. So what is the meaning of a light year? It means distance traveled by light in a year. Okay, and for the next one also, very similarly, the question asks, what is the visible difference between planets and stars? So the extract here tells us the difference between stars and planets. So you have to direct the students in helping them to compare the difference between the planets and stars. Like, what is this and what is that? And what is the most obvious difference? Which would be option 1. Stars twinkle, but planets do not. Okay, all right. So question 3, also similarly, we are looking at an extract about astronomers. So astronomers can also work out what a star is made of. There are many different kinds of radiation given out by a star. The visible light is just one kind. Other types include X-rays, ultraviolet, microwaves, and infrared, none of which the naked eyes can see. So scientists using special technology can measure the amounts of these different types of radiation and work out which elements are present in a star. So which of the following forms of energy is not emitted by the stars? So emitted means it's not given out by the stars. So your clue here is, which of the option is not mentioned in the paragraph? Chemical potential energy. That is not something that was mentioned earlier. So your answer is number 1. Okay, so following that, question 4 is also the same extract, but the sentence, we have to focus on the question. According to the text, which of the following is true? Now, for these kind of questions, you must help the students to look at, you have to help the students to the text where it says about studying stars through observation, right? So according to the text, which of the following is true? So the options would be option 2. Astronomers can study about the stars just by looking at them, right? They don't have to travel back in time. All they have to do is just look through a telescope. Okay, so here, question 1, when the twins, Sam and Becky, woke up, they chatted about their plans for the day. They had only a few days left before school started again, and they wanted to do something different. What tells you that the story took place during the holidays? So the clue is, did they go to school today? Because they woke up and they started planning for the whole day. So that tells us that they didn't go to school today. And also another clue is they only had a few days left before school started again. So we know that the answer is number 2. They had only a few days left before school started. Okay. Now, question 2, they decided to have a one-color day. Everything they wore, everything they did would only be one color. Sam's favorite color was red, so he chose red clothes. He put on a red t-shirt, a red pair of shorts, and some red flip-flops. Becky liked red and yellow best, but she had to be different from Sam, so she chose yellow. She put on a yellow dress and some yellow sandals. What is the color that Sam chose for the day? So we can understand that Sam was wearing a red t-shirt, red shorts, and red shoes. As a matter of fact, some red flip-flops. So your answer will be red. Okay, the next question. Yes, and what makes orange? Said their mother as she poured some juice into the children's glasses. Sam and Becky smiled at each other. Together, it was going to be much easier. So what can be concluded from the children's experiment? Okay, now was it easier playing alone or together? That will be the clue. So number 2, playing together is more fun. All right. Okay, so as for question 4, also similarly, the question asks, why were the children surprised that the mother joined in the experiment? So you have to direct the students to the clues. The text describes the mother as a sensitive person. So they have said here that they were convinced their sensitive mother would rule out their experiment straight away. And they were not sure that it was a very reasonable thing to do. All right, so why were they surprised? Because the mom was usually a very sensitive person who will usually advise them against all these experiments. Okay, so the answer is they think that it is a silly game and their mother will not join in. All right, and that concludes our slides for today. Now, thank you so very much and have a good day, all of you.